Hi, everyone. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So, in regard to recent developments, and they include the full moon, because that's what we're just in, full moon acted as a major trigger, cutting across signs that relate to money, business, and trade, among other things, Taurus, Scorpio. And so, what we saw, because Trump is at this time also enjoying the conjunction of transiting Jupiter to his sun, was able to turn it into a win of sorts. I don't know that I would call it a big win, because what he did back in early April, when Saturn was pressuring him, he touched the third rail, created this giant tariff world in which he tariffed everybody. And so, as a result of that, markets tanked. I mean, it was clearly not well thought out and was going to be due for corrections, which of course he instituted almost immediately. But now this becomes a kind of full pullback, from the brink, because he knew there were going to be empty shelves and it was going to do a lot of damage to the economy. So it's a way to save face, but at the same time, it's a 90-day pause. There continues to be uncertainty in the air, which will continue to do damage to the economy, because businesses are reluctant to invest when there's no clarity, not to mention that they might get into an argument again and the tariffs could return. Nobody knows. And even if they don't return, there are still substantial tariffs in place, meaning prices will go up. And so the odds of either a recession or a mini recession, or just a perception that things are not going all that well, more than likely to happen as we go month to month and into the end of the year. Now, this is so clear in his astrology, because the Saturn move, that was the mistake. That was the big error. This is in large measure due to the fact that this man is a very poor extrapolator. It's the idea that when you extrapolate, you see something and then you take measures from that bit of data that you're gathering. You make some kind of plan, or you institute some kind of action based on that. You build on something and you take it out further. And he's just really bad at this, because, well, we want to see the prime example of the way this man's brain works. I pictured him back in the pandemic year, perhaps hearing, who knows, a scientist, or it could have been the local cleaner, talking about how if you wipe the counters with chlorine, then you kill all the bugs, including COVID. And in that pea brain of his, he projected that, he extrapolated that this could perhaps be applied internally to the body, which of course is totally preposterous, but it's the way his brain thinks. So with tariffs, if you apply tariffs intelligently, for example, Biden had a very steep tariff on vehicles, Chinese vehicles, because he wanted American companies to sell those vehicles. And so by imposing 100% or more, you equalize the value of those goods, and then you make it possible for the American company to compete. But if you tariff everything and everyone, you're entering a totally crazy world. So, for example, saying that a country like Lesotho, where they make diamonds and live from the sale of these diamonds, and they use the money to live, to pay their bills, to not to then turn around and buy US goods. But that's the way Trump is understanding the problem. And so then he creates what is essentially a mess, right? So now that's under Saturn, the big mistake. Then now he pulls back under Jupiter, and as he will always do, announces it as a big win. And you notice that the MAGA sphere, by which I mean the media that supports him, tries to help him at every turn, is painting it as a brilliant move. He was planning it all along. False, he was not. He retreated. He was forced to retreat and make the best of it. But that's what they'll say. And this is where we have to be patient, because from where we are now to peeling off the percentages that we need to peel off to reject this kind of governance, more has to happen. People are still too invested in their initial choice and hope he succeeds. But based on his astrology, that's extremely doubtful, because Jupiter is there now. I see, you can call them Pyrrhic winds, meaning he pulls back, things appear to be better now. He gets this really expensive plane. That's another gift. That's a typical Jupiterian outcome. Problem with that is that it cements a view in voters that he's totally corrupt, and that'll come back later. The planet that comes back to bring accountability is Saturn, and Jupiter is leaving a sign. It's been there since last summer, last June, late May, June. Now it has a few more weeks. It'll go into Cancer. That's not nearly as favorable. In fact, it's quite problematic. And even more problematic is that the flow of Saturn takes it into Aries for a while, basically June, July, August. Then it comes back into Pisces. And that period in Pisces, from the fall all the way to the spring of next year, brings back the 8th sign where he instituted the tariffs. That's where Saturn was, doing the square to his sun and moon, returns there. And so there's an extended period when we are very likely to see the real effect of the tariffs and what they're doing, be it from the percentages themselves or, as I was saying earlier, from the instability he has created in the economy, in the sense that the plan is not solid, and so companies don't know what to do. This tends to hold back investment, etc. In astrology, this is the Uranus cycle in his chart, way up there at the zenith midheaven, squaring Mars, squaring the ascendant. Again, another energy that he's channeling improperly, because Uranus, when it's expressed improperly, translates to instability, unpredictability, and the damage that such a thing can do. So bottom line to all this is that, as I've said before, the problem for us is that we have to endure the instability ourselves, including the potential for higher prices and potential for all kinds of things we'd rather not see. But on the other hand, as I've also said, I think it makes all the sense in the world that the only way, in the longer term at least, this is going to work is by people becoming aware of their incompetence and their laziness and their poor planning, so that some other form of governance can then come into the foreground. Yes, of course, it would be great if some other thing happens, anything. I would welcome it. My feeling is, well, I'm not even going to say whether I feel like it'll happen or not. I'm just preparing myself for the fact that it may not happen, and that the only road is to just move forward day to day, week to week, month to month, and continue to resist through constant awareness, always being vigilant about what is happening so that actions can be taken. Also, always remain calm. I picture the democratic collective. If lots and lots of people in that group are calm and vigilant, then we are definitely going to win this battle. But it's going to take time, because we have to go month by month, wait it out, move into next year, go through elections, and begin to shift the tide in a different direction. That's the way this can happen. And based on what I'm seeing through the astrology, the way his planets are vibing, yes, he can say all he likes. I mean, this is Trump in a nutshell. He will never, ever, ever tell you what really happened. He is programmed to basically spin it, lie, deceive, never take accountability for anything, and always take the credit and make it seem like it was a genius move. But it's not. It simply isn't. And I think we will see the results, let's just say, pretty soon. One level is Jupiter changing signs, and the next level takes a little longer, but that's where the flow is going, and I think that is what is most important.